Welcome back, everyone. It is Eric from Rare Candy, and today I am back with round 2 of the recent league challenge I got to go attend at Cape Fear Collectibles in Wilmington, North Carolina. So if you guys did miss round 1, I already did upload that to the channel. So if you guys want to see that and any of the future rounds whenever they go live, I'll be sure to have those linked down below in the description. But here for this round, we actually have yours truly. I'm going to be playing the Zoroark Toolbox deck over there on the left, and we have Dylan Bussert. He's going to be playing the Gardevoir EX deck over on the right here. Kind of an interesting matchup here. Gardevoir, of course, I would say is top 2 best decks in the format. Going to be going up against this weird, wacky sort of, kind of just a fun casual deck, if we're being honest, over here on the left with the Zoroark deck. But that being said, I actually think the Zoroark deck has quite a few options to dealing with Gardevoir. Its main attacker, Zoroark, is a dark type, so you can already take knockouts on some of the Pokemon in the deck, but it does have the Mighty Yena as well, which can knock out Gardevoir EX. So there definitely are some ways for the Zoroark deck to combat against this Gardevoir deck. And it looks like Dylan is finally going to find himself a basic Pokemon here, and we're going to get this round underway. So I am going to start the game here with a Zorua. I do apologize about the glare there, guys. And those mulligans definitely gave me some options for what I want to do with my opening hand here. I do have an Ultra Ball, so I could start tossing away maybe some of my Stage 1 Pokemon. We do see I have a Flapple in my opening hand. That's definitely going to be one of my, I think, key attackers that's good in this matchup, since it hits for 50 for every Pokemon your opponent has in play with an ability. Great against Gardevoir, since almost every Pokemon they play is going to have an ability of some sort. But here looks like I am going to go for an Ultra Ball, tossing away the Flapple, as well as an Appleton. Not a Pokemon that's particularly great in the matchup, but, definitely want to get it out of my deck as soon as possible, since it's not going to be doing me any good in there. But here I'm just trying to think how I want to approach getting my basics, because I do have an Artisan in my hand, which is a great stadium for this deck, since I can find my basics with it. But that means I also would be giving it to Dylan to use as well, which is something I'm a little bit conflicted about. But here I'm going to find my own Ralts. I do have, it looks like, a Croagua in hand for next turn. I have a Level Ball and an Artisan. And it looks like I am debating getting down the Artisan. It's kind of a necessary evil just to get set up. Even though Dylan will have access to it as well, I just need to get my own basics down at this point. So I'm going to get myself a second Ralt. And then I do have a Level Ball in hand, so I could even grab a Zorua, or I could even opt to maybe even save it to grab a second Croagua for next turn whenever I can start evolving. So we'll have to see what I'm going to do from here. But honestly, I think even just leaving it at this is probably good. Dylan's not threatening a turn 2 attack, or I'm sorry, like a turn 1 attack against me or anything. So I think this is even fine just saving this hand. But we'll have to see which way I'm going to take this. But yeah, just to pass over to Dylan, I think that's definitely the right move here. And, Dylan, he is going to be able to access that Artisan to use that and find his basic Pokemon. But honestly, even if I didn't put that down, Dylan has an insane hand in terms of finding his basic Pokemon, so I definitely didn't bail him out of a dead hand or anything like that by putting the Artisan in play. But there's going to be that Battle VIP pass. So of course he finds 2 basic Pokemon. So yeah, he even has Fog Crystal, and I think we saw an Ultra Ball in his hand as well, if he really wants to get aggressive and get down another basic on top of this. But yeah, this is a pretty pure first turn so far for Dylan. Even though he had to give up all of those extra cards by mulliganing, it sort of paid off to finally be able to start the game with this hand here. So there's going to be an Ultra Ball, tossing away an Iono and a Psychic Energy, and he's also going to grab a Mew here. So yeah, this is like perfect. This is exactly what Dylan wants to see on the first turn of the game here. Absolutely. And then he even has the Iono to still play as well. So I don't really know what else Dylan would really want. Maybe just more energy to toss away with Radiant Greninja. That's the only thing I can really think of here. But Iono is going to refresh both of our hands to 6. Unfortunately, no energy in Dylan's hand, but at least he does have a decent hand ready to go for next turn. So we'll have to see what he's going to do here. Yeah, just a pass. And, I'm in kind of an interesting spot too, because I could start to attempt to attack here and start putting on some pressure, but I don't know if I actually have a way of getting a knockout on this Greninja this turn. So this might even just be another turn on my end just to try to get a little bit better set up and just get more of my basics into play. But here I'm going to use that Capturing Aroma to find myself a Kirlia. And this way I can start tossing away some of these Stage 1 Pokemon that I want in the discard pile. But there I'm going to toss away Titan to be able to draw 2 cards with that Refinement ability. I'm going to use Artisan myself to get down. Looks like a Zorua is what I'm contemplating here. That seems okay. And I believe I also do have a worker in hand. I could play as my not my stadium, but my supporter for turn here. And yeah, looks like that is what I'm going to get to do here. So I draw 3, and then I do have to discard the stadium and play with it. So Artisan is going to be gone at this point. There's going to be another Love Evolve. Yeah, just finding another Kirlia seems good. So now I have my engine pretty much set up. I just want to find probably more basics and more Stage 1 Pokemon to toss away into the discard pile at this point. So I'm going to chuck away a Serena with that Refinement ability, and I do have a Hisuian Basculin. I could use that to get a little bit better set up if I do choose to do so. Or I could just opt to sacrifice this Zorua in the active spot. That is also a consideration here. But there's going to be a Zoroark coming down. So I think I'm just trying to say, you know what? In case you take a knockout on my active and Iono me, I will at least have a Zoroark ready to go for the next turn. And from there, I'm just going to pass it over to Dylan. So there's going to be a Level Ball, no doubt finding himself a Kirlia. And Dylan has a pretty stacked hand here. He has the Rare Candy, plus Gardevoir. He's got this Kirlia. I think he has a Research, so he's going to be able to see a ton of cards this turn. So there's going to be, yeah, Rare Candy Gardevoir. That's going to be the Shining Arcana one. He has Reversal Energy. He's going to opt to discard that from hand. He's probably thinking, you know what, I'm going to go ahead on prizes first anyway, so probably not actually going to need Reversal Energy here. So there's going to be Fog Crystal. Finally finding him some more Psychic Energy since he did whiff that off the Iono on the previous turn. And so what is Dylan actually going to do here? Is he going to attach to the Greninja? Seems okay if that is what he wants to do. And then just a Professor's Research. Now, unfortunately, he does have to discard 2 Boss's Orders and a Rare Candy. So a little bit unfortunate there. But Dylan's setup is still pretty solid here. I don't think he's missing the Rare Candy too much. But the Boss's Orders definitely could be, you know, a little bit annoying for the late game. But no doubt we're going to see Dylan start to use these Refinement abilities on Kirlia to start drawing a couple more cards. And right now, I don't think Dylan's actually going to get off an attack. I think more than likely, he would have to find another Rare Candy to be able to pull off an attack. But yeah, if he's going to evolve his final Ralts here, he's just sort of throwing that out the window at this point. He's just going to take another turn just to get a little bit better set up. He knows my deck's not like super aggressive either, so he probably doesn't feel maybe a ton of pressure to find the Candy Gardevoir this turn. So there's going to be another Refinement. Tossing away Manphy. Not a great card for this matchup either. And then he is also going to use the Shining Arcane ability. So it looks at the top 2 cards, attaches any basic energy he finds there, then keeps the other cards. And there's going to be a Fog Crystal. So yeah, Dylan's deck is like down to nothing already, even though it's only, what, the second turn of the game here. So his deck is firing off on all cylinders, you know, other than maybe having to get rid of a couple boss. He's feeling, I think, pretty good about the state of this game right now. And there's going to be that Mysterious Tail ability on Mew, so he does get a look at the top 6 cards of his deck, gets an item card, shuffles the rest back into his deck. And again, we'll probably just see a pass from here. So this puts me in a little bit of an interesting situation as well, because there definitely is a world where I could take the first KO of the game here, but there is also some downside to doing that if I do choose to. Only because if I take the first KO, my Reversal Energy is not going to be able to be activated. And if I can't activate my reversal energy, I can't ever really go for like a boss's orders play on a Gardevoir EX. So there is genuine consideration for just letting Dylan go ahead to ensure that my deck has more options throughout the entire game here. Because even if Dylan does get ahead a little bit, again, I can always bring up a Gardevoir at some point to jump ahead in the prize exchange. And I also do, of course, have the Slowbro with the Twilight Inspiration attack that I can use to cheat my final 2 prizes. So again, I'm feeling okay about, you know, losing a prize here if need be. But there's going to be Hisuian Basculin. And this definitely seems like a decent turn to use it. So I'm just going to, looks like retreat, evolve, and maybe Iono seems pretty good here. And I feel okay about promoting this Basculin here too, just because I know Dylan's gone through a few boss already. More than likely, he is going to just knock this thing out, and it's never going to be just like left in play, clogging up my bench. So going to use that refinement ability, tossing away Mightyena. That's going to be probably a key Pokemon for me at some point here. But there's going to be a Capturing Aroma. I think that is a Tails, which means I would have to get a basic Pokemon. So I'm going to grab a Manaphy, which pretty useless card in this matchup. So this seems like a good refinement target for me. So going to discard that to see another 2 cards. And probably just see me end my turn with that attack on Hisuian Basculin, gather the crew, 0 energy, but you search your deck for up to 2 basics, put them on your bench. So just going to grab another Zorua, get it down on the bench, and kick things back over to Dylan. So again, guys, even though Dylan's probably going to get the first knockout here, it's not that big a deal since I have 2 big ways to really jump ahead in the prize exchange. But Dylan, he's going to kick things off with that Shining Arcane ability. No energy with the ability, but that's okay. So there's going to be a refinement. Okay, going to evolve that Curlia into a Gardevoir and finds 2 energy off the Shining Arcana. So that's pretty nice because that means Dylan doesn't actually have to put a Gardevoir EX into play just yet. He probably just wants to hold off on that, you know, for as long as he can, just because it gives up 2 prizes. He doesn't want that to get picked off by my Mightyena. And so Dylan does have a few more refinements he could use, though his deck is getting a little bit low, so there is consideration for just saving what's in his hand until he needs to really dig. He also has a Temple of Sinnoh, so that is a card he could potentially get down to maybe disrupt my strategy, since it does turn all of my special energies into just plain colorless energies. But I think he's going to opt to save that, probably for like a big Iono turn, if I had to guess here. But from there, he's just going to take a knockout on the Basculin with that Brainwave attack. And now I have to start thinking about how I want to respond here. I think Flapple's the big card I really want to see at this point. That's my main attacker I really probably want to fall back on. But let's see. Checking my discard pile. I do have a couple of different supporters I could play. I do have a couple of workers, so I could play those, but I do think there is also consideration for not playing them as well, just because I know more than likely Dylan is probably running a copy, maybe even or 2 of the Temple of Sinnoh. So I kind of want to save my stadium bumps if at all possible. So I think it's honestly probably even fine just saving this hand for the moment too. But there's going to be the Phantom Transformation ability. That is going to be what really makes this deck tick. So of course, Zoroark can discard itself from play and transform into a stage 1 that is in my discard. Going to grab that Flapple. Does 50 for every Pokemon Dylan has in play with an ability. So yeah, doing plenty of damage to knock out this Gardevoir here. And I believe that is going to be a gift energy. So in theory, if Dylan does Iono my massive hand, if he does knock out this Flapple, I will be able to draw until I have 7 cards in hand. Of course, barring if he does choose to get down a Temple of Sinnoh here. So this could be a decent turn for the Temple of Sinnoh. I don't hate that. He could even opt to save it for a little bit later in the game once I've taken more prizes, but either way, I think it's okay if he does want to go for that play too, though. It's not the worst thing in the world. Now, I will say there is a Pokemon in the deck that really is a pain for the Zoroark deck. That is going to be Cresselia. So Cresselia, it moves, was it 2 damage counters from each of your Pokemon to one of your opponents. So I think the big kryptonite to this Zoroark deck is the fact that your opponent can like boss up a Kirlia and use Cresselia to knock out something on your bench. And the Zoroark deck, or at least my list here, doesn't play any switching cards outside of Jet Energy. And sometimes it can make it really difficult to actually take a KO on the next turn. If I don't have the Jet Energy, you know, at that point, Dylan's going to be able to take multiple KOs back to back, which would maybe allow him to run away with this game. So the Cresselia actually is, you know, a very big threat in the matchup. I'm not really worried about the Gardevoirs. They're fine. It's the Cresselia that I'm most afraid of here. But Dylan is going to get down the Temple of Sinnoh, probably going to play the Iono that's in his hand as well. He knows I have, you know, I'm sitting on a massive hand here, so this seems like an okay turn to go for it. And it looks like he is debating a little bit, but yeah, I think it's okay. Yeah, so there's going to be the Iono. And let's see, I don't really even think there's anything Dylan especially needs this turn. I think he found everything he wanted at this point. He's just trying to disrupt me if at all possible. So there's going to be the Cresselia. And also he can avoid the effect on Gift Energy even without the Temple of Sinnoh, because Gift Energy, I believe, only works if it's knocked out by damage of an attack. So Dylan actually maybe even could have saved the Temple of Sinnoh here, if his goal was to disrupt the Gift Energy at least. But let's see how I'm going to approach this turn here. Going to grab a Kirlia out of deck with that level ball. Probably just trying to reorganize the order of my deck. I had a lot of important cards that went to the bottom of my deck, most notably the 2 copies of Worker. So if I can find those again, that would definitely be a big help to get rid of this Temple of Sinnoh. That's going to be the card I am most annoyed with right now on Dylan's field. So going to toss away Spy Ops to draw 2 cards. And I don't have too many great targets to discard with my other refinement here. I think getting rid of Kirlia is a consideration because I'm pretty sure I prized a Ralts in this game. So we could see me get rid of that, or even a double Turbo Energy. I think those are both decent options here. But I am going to get rid of the Kirlia. That's fine. Now, unfortunately, I do not find any copies of Worker. I don't find an Artisan. So unfortunately, this stadium is going to stick for a turn, but luckily I can still use Flapple's first attack. It only requires a single colorless energy anyways, so I don't think it's the end of the world here that I did miss the counter stadium. More than likely next turn, I'll find it though. I think my deck's probably just a little too low to with the counter stadium on the next turn here. But there's going to be the Iono. So let's see what I can find here. Looks like I do have... Okay, no, that's a Serena. I thought that might be an Artisan. So still no counter stadium, but this did at least get me 5 cards closer to one. So let's see what Dylan is going to do here. I mean, I think he's fine to just keep trading with Gardevoirs until he can set up the big Cresselia boss play. That's really like the big thing he wants to try to close out this game with. So it looks like he is a little bit conflicted. He can use Radiant Greninja. He can use the refinement ability on Kirlia. He has that Shining Arcane ability on Gardevoir as well. But Dylan doesn't have too many cards left in deck here. So maybe he's just worried about decking out or something. But yeah, there's not a whole lot he really needs to do. Maybe finding a Super Rod could be good if he does have one left. So it looks like he's debating going for a research. Okay. Okay, but he's going to refinement away the research. That seems good. Okay, and there's going to be the Super Rod. That's actually a really big card here, because that is going to allow him to get back that Cresselia and also maybe some Gardevoir pieces as well to set up another Gardevoir. So he's going to get those back in deck. I believe he has an Artisan. We could even see him bump his own Temple for an Artisan at this point. But yeah, he's going to have to keep the Temple in play, force me to find the counter stadium, that's fine. So I do top deck Slowbro, which is actually a really important card for me to eventually close out this game with. So there's going to be the Slowbro hitting the bin, drawing 2. Now, if I remember correctly, I think I might even like have low-key punted the game on this turn. Or I shouldn't say that, but like I feel like I severely cut my chances of winning this turn, if I remember correctly. It's been like several days since this tournament happened, so I'm trying to remember everything as it's happening here. But basically, I'm faced with a decision. I can play Worker, draw some more cards, and get rid of the Temple of Sinnoh, or I can boss the Gardevoir, knock it out with Mighty Yena, and go ahead in the prize exchange. Though if I do that, it does open me up to a more punishing Iono play. Now, if I play the Worker, I still have Slowbro to close out the game with, and I'm still sort of like on my path to victory. And I could even boss on the next turn if I so choose to do so. But I think you can see I'm debating it here. I'm a little bit conflicted. Or maybe I was even thinking Gardevoir decks normally only play 2 gusting effects, and Dylan's already gone through both of his boss's orders at this point. So maybe it's a little unlikely he's going to be able to stick me with that boss Cresselia play that I'm, trying to avoid here in this game if at all possible. So if I'm assuming Dylan's not going to be able to pull off that play, I think this makes sense to a degree. The only other thing I can think of here is that if I were to go for boss's orders, right now I only have 1 additional Zoroark on the bench, and I really want 2 extras at all times. And if I want to guarantee a second one, I would have to put down Artisan, which Dylan can make use of for himself. Whereas if I play Worker, there is a chance that I could draw into another Zoroark and not give Dylan access to my stadium for future turns. Now granted, I think that's still a bad mistake, because even if Dylan's using my stadium, I'm in the winning position at that point. But I'm just trying to think where my head might have been at in the moment here. But yeah, I think knocking out Gardevoir definitely would have been much better in this instance. But here, I mean, I'm still knocking out the Shining Arcane Gardevoir. It's limiting Dylan's draw options, and I get a prize. It's not like the end of the world, but my game plan here is to just deal with 1 more Pokemon and then use Slowbro to win the game. So there is going to be the Cresselia coming down here. And Dylan might even be thinking, okay, it looks like he is gearing up to use the Cresselia here. So of course he's using the Psychic Embrace ability here on Gardevoir EX to accelerate energy to his Pokemon and get damage counters on them to fuel this Cresselia's attack. Let's see what's going to target down. He could just knock out this Flapple here. He could even target down a Curlia on the bench to limit my draw options, maybe for another Iono. But here he's going to use Refinement, discard Battle VIP Pass, and he does find himself in the Iono, so like, it's not the worst thing in the world if he wants to target down Curlia, but here Dylan's just trying to see if Gift Energy will actually activate from Cresselia. It will not, so this actually is like a pretty good energy for me to have in play if he does want to go for the Cresselia play this turn, just because he can play around Gift Energy, limit my hand size here. Okay, so there's going to be another Ralts hitting the field. Dylan's probably just trying to reestablish maybe another Gardevoir here at some point. Yep, Cresselia's going to come up, and I'm imagining he's probably just going to knock out this Flapple, since that is the big threat right now. And I think next turn is the turn where he needs to go for the boss play at this point. And if he does that, honestly, Dylan just wins. Because the attack on Slowbro that I need to win the game requires 2 energies. And while, yes, I do play Jet Energy in the deck, it only provides a single energy. So I won't actually be able to use that big Slowbro play I was just talking about if Dylan can do this turn. So this is actually kind of a scary turn. I think I just need to try to Iono and limit Dylan's options as much as possible here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to, but I probably need to. But looks like I'm playing Nest Ball here. Just probably trying to thin my deck as much as possible, I would imagine. But yeah, at this point, by not bossing the Gardevoir on that one turn, I've kind of played myself into this like sketchy spot here, and I've kind of realized it at this point. Like I think I even remember in the middle of the tournament when I played the worker instead of the boss, I was just thinking, this just feels so wrong, but we've already played it down, so there's no going back just yet. So again, guys, I'm just trying to hope that Dylan doesn't have... Yeah, I remember here, I'm checking to see if Dylan has another Super Rod left. He probably does, so that's something that has me worried. He still has that Celebrations Mew in place. That can guarantee him the Super Rod, if he doesn't already have it either. But it just feels like my issue with this turn is that I wanted to Iono, Worker, and Boss all in the same turn. So that was kind of the issue that I was facing there. Because obviously I still had another turn here to boss the Gardevoir if I was able to do that, which obviously that didn't work out. I want to get rid of this Artisan, that way Dylan can't find his Cresselia as easily, but also I want to reset Dylan's hand with Iono, which of course is what I was stuck doing there. So it's just kind of feeling bad at this point. I can kind of feel the game slipping away a little bit at this point. But that being said, it's not over just yet. Dylan does still need the Super Rod, Cresselia, Boss combo. But for the moment, just going to transform into this Flapple over here and can still take a knockout on the Cresselia. And if Dylan does whiff this whole combo, there is still a chance I can boss Gardevoir for game on this next turn, or of course, just use Slowbro. But we'll have to see what Dylan's going to do here. And it looks like I'm debating what I want to get rid of with that Croya. Just ultimately going to get rid of the Serena here. Not a card that's particularly good at that point. Of all the supporters I want to play, that is not going to be one of them. So from there, just going to knock out the Cresselia. And it looks like Dylan is conflicted what he wants to promote, but he is going to throw up that Mew. That makes sense. That will maybe allow him to get that Super Rod with that Mysterious Tail ability. Okay, so he's going to use that ability. Going to look at the top 6 cards of his deck, get an item card, and it is not there. So I'm sighing a sigh of relief right now, because that means that last card in his deck must have been the Super Rod that he was looking for. So I might get a little bit lucky here, but that being said, Dylan does still have some ways of drawing cards. He has that Croya on the board. He has the Radiant Greninja. Okay, so still no Super Rod in sight. That's good. But he still has, it looks like 2 Curlias left that he can use, so it would be very unlikely, I think, for him to whiff at this point. And here you can see Dylan seems a little bit conflicted about what route he wants to go with this turn. Okay, he is going to evolve into the Curlia here. And he still has 2 more refinements, so let's see what he's going to pitch away. So we know Dylan has the boss. If he plays it, gets the Cresselia back, and does the play I'm outlining here, he just wins. So there's going to be, it looks like a refinement. Tossing away Collapse Stadium. Okay, there's going to be Super Rod. That's the big card Dylan needed here. But yeah, I think Dylan basically has the game wrapped up at this point, because of course he's going to boss Croya to bring that up into the active spot. Use Cresselia to knock out my Flapple, more than likely. Going down to just a single prize, and since my deck doesn't play any regular switching cards, I can't actually use Slowbro to win with that Twilight Inspiration attack, and I also can't use Reversal Energy on Mighty Yenna to be able to knock out Gardevoir with a boss's orders. But guys, I'm not done punting the game just yet. You'll see. I think I was honestly just on tilt from like realizing I should have bossed earlier in the game. And so I think on this last turn here, you'll see, but I had like one Hail Mary play I could go for, and I just don't. So Or well, I partially go for it, you'll see. But yeah, this was not my best quality of play in this particular game. So here, it looks like Dylan's just doing a bunch of Gardevoir shenanigans, starting to pepper his board with a bunch of damage and energy, getting ready to use that first attack on Cresselia to move all of those damage counters. And yeah, we are going to see a retreat over here. And yep, there's the boss's orders. We knew the play was coming, so now he can just pick off the Flapple on the bench behind it. And now I can't actually use that Slowbro play for me to win the game. That is my issue. But what I can do, I do have Boss. And Dylan didn't get back any Psychic Energy with his Super Rod, so there is a world where I could potentially boss this Radiant Greninja and force Dylan to deck out. And as you guys are about to see, I do go for the boss's orders play on the Radiant Greninja. But what I need to do here is I also do still need to transform into Slowbro, and even though I can't use its Twilight Inspiration attack, its first attack only requires a single colorless energy, which I can use with Jet Energy to get it into the active spot, and it puts both active Pokemon asleep. But here you can see Dylan did have the energy to retreat, so had I used that Slowbro attack, I could have at least reduced the game down to a coin flip at that point. Again, I think I was just a little bit on tilt after my misplay of not bossing earlier in the game, and I kind of just played a little sloppy at the end there, so. Yep, I think I kind of punted that one, but either way, I hope you guys still enjoyed seeing Gardevoir go up against sort of a wacky, casual, sort of like rogue deck like the Zoroark here. Of course, if you did enjoy today's content, remember to smack that like button for me, feed that always hungry YouTube algorithm. And if you're feeling maybe a little extra generous and want to take that support to the next level, you can also become a patron at patreon.com/rarecandytcg or pick up some merch at rarecandytcg.com. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.